On this episode of Sum It Up, we will be talking about RIASEC, personality themes, and the work we are doing to implement these in the elementary schools.
I think this is also going to help students as they move through middle school and high school as well. So really setting them up to have a really deep understanding of themselves so that when they are at an age that it is more appropriate to start talking about career pathways, they have a better idea of how they can move and operate and contribute in the world and what that might mean for their career choice.
My name is Shannon Booth. I'm Director of Career Education for the Lee Summit School District, and today we have with us Casey Blakemore and Nicole Carleton.
I'm Casey Blakemore. I am the elementary counselor at Richardson and the lead elementary counselor.
And I'm Nicole Carleton. I am split between Highland Park Elementary and Trailridge Elementary as an elementary school counselor.
Thank you guys for joining me today. Casey, can you tell me what is RIASEC?
Yeah, so RIASEC has been around for a long time, and it's tied to career theory. RIASEC stands for realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. And they're essentially kind of personality types, if you will, that were created by John Holland. And John Holland is kind of a big career theory guru. And that all ties into this approach to occupations where you're trying to figure out your interests and your abilities, and you're trying to find where they meet in a particular career. So, if you find your Holland code and you find out like that you are investigative and enterprising and conventional, then you might try to align that with a specific career that would fit that.
Okay, so if the RIASEC personality themes are really career focused and are about career exploration, is it too early for that in elementary school?
The short answer is yes. It is awfully early in elementary school for us to be thinking about pigeonholing a student into a career option, so to speak. But like Casey mentioned, RIASEC is really based in personality themes. And so our goal with this work is to help students explore not only some of their natural strengths in the directions that they lean in naturally, but also developing those other areas. So if we have a student who tends to be very strong in, let's say, social and enterprising type of things, we want them to develop those realistic skills and those conventional type skills. And not only develop that, but have an appreciation for their peers that might have a stronger skill set in some of those codes that they don't. So really the idea is less about your realistic or your enterprising. And so this is the career direction that you have to head in. And it's more about making sure that students start understanding their own strengths and just making sure that they are in those beginning stages of developing a really robust set of skills that will benefit them in the career world much later down the line.
So it sounds like we might be separating career from the personality themes and really letting kids dive in and have a lot of self-discovery in the elementary world. So, Nicole, how do you think this work will benefit students?
What we're doing here in Lee Summit is really unique because when you go out and look at information on Holland's career theory, it's just that. It's so rooted in careers. I think how this is going to benefit kids is in part, like I already said, to help them strengthen their own skill set, discover it, and then strengthen other skills that maybe they're not as, that don't come as naturally for them. I think this is also going to help students as they move through middle school and high school as well. So really setting them up to have a really deep understanding of themselves, so that when they are at an age that it is more appropriate to start talking about career pathways, they have a better idea of how they can move and operate and contribute in the world and what that might mean for their career choice.
So what does this look like in elementary schools? Do we already have some things that we're doing?
So that reminds me of kind of something that I heard from Nicole when she was talking about strengths. So a lot of what we're already doing in elementary schools for this ties to helping students find their strengths. We help them find their strengths as a reader, as a learner, socially too, as they're like engaging in project work with their peers. And a lot of that self-discovery has been so tied specific to that, line of academics that I think we've left out this career piece, and that this is really like an amazing, thing that we're doing now that fills in that gap to help students that maybe in some specific ways might be struggling academically, but we highlight these other strengths and they can really tap into that. And then practically in the classroom, teachers in kindergarten, for instance, some teachers have class jobs, and now they've divided those up kind of on a table, and it would be like, which jobs fall under realistic? Which of these classroom jobs fall under investigative, and so forth. And so students are kind of figuring out, okay, I'm this classroom helper, that falls under realistic. And so they're making those like direct real world connections and growing their identity and self-understanding in just very practical ways. So like, I might not feel good about myself as a reader, but I might start to feel good about myself as being realistic and which sort of tasks and abilities that I have that I can grow in that way. So it helps shape their whole identity. And then also, we tie it into a lot of our science curriculum, a lot of the things that we're doing in there. There's opportunities to kind of see, the thinkers in those scenarios for the science curriculum and the people that are doing different roles. Which of these people are investigative? Which of these tasks are maybe more kind of under that umbrella of conventional, and helping kids kind of start to not understand just who they are, but also just kind of seeing the world through that RIASEC lens. Like, oh, this is more realistic. Oh, this is more conventional, to be able to kind of see it through that lens, and then also to be able to see their peers that way. We also have, like, some schools are doing daily announcements, and each month or each week we'll focus on a certain letter. So one week you might focus on realistic and have a daily announcement about this is what it is. These are some people in history that would represent that characteristic very well. These are some things that, realistic people might like to do. And then teachers have activities in class to kind of tie into that, whether that's through videos or hands-on work through our science curriculum, lots of different ways. We can also, some of the things we're thinking about in the future would tie to like career days and having real-world applications where students are recognizing this career, does fit under realistic, and seeing somebody from that career actually talk about that and really kind of make those big connections.
Wow, it sounds like a lot's being done in the elementary world. How does that really help them prepare for the next step? So how does that get them ready to go into middle school whenever they're about to choose more of an elective pathway?
So the more they understand about themselves, the more they're able to kind of pick maybe a certain path, if you will, or an elective that might align with those interests and abilities that they have. So understanding their RIASEC or their Holland code at a younger age helps them kind of think about, instead of just kind of flitting away and picking different ones and not really understanding what they might like, they might understand what they like at a younger age and pick certain ones and really hone their skills and their abilities and kind of figure out at an earlier age which path might interest them. Not that they can't shift at any given point, because we all know that we've changed either careers or majors when we're in college, but to be able to help them really dig in and really develop that interest and explore.
Nicole, do you have anything to add about how this work might prepare them for middle school?
Everything Casey has said, absolutely. And I think it's just become so integrated in our language now at the elementary level. This isn't a separate box that our teachers are checking during the day. It's language that's being interwoven right now predominantly in the science curriculum, but we're looking ahead to what does this look like in other subject areas? What does this look like for special classes at the elementary level? So just even the exposure of this language for students at such a young age, and exposure to, like Casey was saying, another opportunity for kids to understand who they are and find those strengths. Maybe they don't feel strong in some academic areas, but they find their fit or their niche within a Holland code. Just having that understanding as they head to middle school, instead of just starting to dip their toe into that at middle school, is going to help set them up for success, like Casey was saying, as they're exploring electives. And perhaps at that point they do have an idea of career, or maybe they still don't. And that's not really the aim for us at elementary. If they have an idea, great. Most elementary kids do have an idea of something that they might like to do when they grow up, but just really focusing on it from a strengths and a skills perspective. And once they head towards middle school, knowing that they have a really strong foundation in understanding who they are as a global citizen, and using that information to help them make choices at the middle school level and beyond.
So RIASEC is part of our LSR7 Diploma Plus initiative, and if you'd like to learn more about RIASEC or Diploma Plus, please visit www.lsr7.org/Diploma Plus. Thank you both for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to LSR7 Sum It Up. Find more episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.